Cannabis stocks soaring on a report the U.S. government will reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug. According to the Associated Press, the Drug Enforcement Agency proposal will make marijuana a Schedule III controlled substance. That proposal does still need to be approved, and it does not legalize marijuana for recreational use nationally. But this is a loosening of decades-long restrictions. Joining us now, Trulieve CEO Kim Rivers, which owns dispensaries, both medical and recreational, in a number of states. Kim, it's good to see you. Talk to us. This is something that was sort of, optimism was rising that this would happen, then it seemed to be falling. Now it looks like it's getting closer to reality. What effect is this going to have on your business and on the broader industry?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So certainly this has been a lot of ebb and flow, as you say. This has been a long process, and is the last official action required by the department, the DEA rather, in this multi-step process. So we had, of course, President Biden initiate the schedule review back in October, a while back. Then we had, of course, the HHS, with the help of the FDA, come out and make a recommendation formally that cannabis should be rescheduled from a Schedule I to a Schedule III. And that was backed by a very evidence-based report, 200 and something pages, that basically compared the medical benefits along with the reduced harm consequences of cannabis as compared to other scheduled substances and alcohol in that recommendation. And then that recommendation went to DEA, and DOJ has been reviewing that recommendation against their set of criteria, primarily focused on public safety. And so, we are very hopeful and looking forward to an official announcement by the DEA that they do in fact agree and concur with HHS, and that they too are making the recommendation for a rescheduling from Schedule I to Schedule III. So that means that cannabis would be on the same level as, for example, Tylenol with codeine in it, along with other substances. I think importantly, the FDA findings were actually that marijuana is safer in many respects than alcohol, which I think is very interesting in terms of having that on the record. But what it will do as it relates to, of course, changing the course of policy in this country that has existed for the last 50 plus years, it really is a critical first step as we think about additional regulatory and policy changes for the industry. It is significant that research would be allowed for cannabis products, which has definitely been lacking in the United States. It would open a pathway for pharmaceutical companies to do additional research and to come to market with FDA-approved drugs. And then finally, and importantly for our industry and for my business, is that it would put us in a normalized tax bracket. Currently, state-regulated, state-authorized cannabis companies pay, in some cases, 50% tax rate. And so it would allow us to take those dollars and invest them into our companies for job growth and for additional research that we could do as well to better the industry.
And so, Kim, so important potential sort of impacts here in terms of research and taxes. I was also reading, Kim, this could potentially spur more moves in Congress. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's certainly our hope. As many who follow the industry know, that we have been stalled in Congress in getting past the safer banking bill, which would, again, we're talking about normalization. So that's really, we're on a quest for normalization as a business and as an industry. And so that would level the playing field as it relates to banking, and importantly, would allow for us to potentially take credit cards so we wouldn't have to have as much cash on hand, which makes us a target, of course, for crime. And there have been some, horrific reports of robberies that have happened in dispensaries across the country, and also would allow us to have access to banking tools. So loans, when we think about small businesses, minority-owned businesses, being able to really compete in this industry, having access to those banking tools that incentivize those businesses to get off the ground. So lots of implications we think here, and really an important and critical first domino to fall if in fact it does come to fruition.
So Kim, I think what you just said, that last comment, the first domino to fall, is an important thing to understand here, because it seems as though, while significant, that this is incremental. Do you think that this
Absolutely.
Is the first step on the path toward safe banking and then eventually federal legalization?
Yeah, I mean, I've always personally believed that this is going to be incremental, and that's how we typically do big policy change in the United States. Is it typically is incremental, and we tend to make a move and then learn from that, right? And then again, here, importantly, it really is important to have the science and the data behind the changes. And again, that's one of the things that we were so excited about with this process, is that we now actually have FDA-backed data points where we can have a more robust, scientifically backed conversation about what cannabis is and what it is not. And, again, begin to develop a more thoughtful and comprehensive regulatory regime that can be rolled out eventually, right, nationally. And so I think, today, of course, as you know, we have, 38 states that have some form of medical marijuana available, and 24 states with adult use programs. So, the scales are beginning to tip here, and it's great to see that hopefully the federal government is entering the conversation in a more meaningful way.
Big, important story, Kim. Thanks for helping us walk through it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.